We are on YouTube. Awesome. Make sure everything's working right. Okay, looks like we're good. As soon as we get some people in here, if you can give me a sound check. Well, I guess I should wait till somebody's actually in here to ask that. But, yeah. So for those of you, there's nobody in here yet, but for those of you watching after the fact, after it's been recorded, yeah, I don't really have any reason to make this live stream. I'm just kind of bored, and I haven't done one, and it's Friday, so, you know, those are all good reasons, right? I have a couple things to maybe talk about, maybe not. We'll see how it goes. You know, every time I do a live stream, all I can focus on is how much reflection there is in my glasses of the screen. Oh, it's so irritating, but anyway. I see I got one person in here, so I'm going to assume if they don't say anything that everything is probably fine. If they can hear me, then I'll assume all is well. Oh, it's been an incredibly busy week. I've been getting finished a lot of schoolwork. That's kind of the main thing, but I've also... I kind of do IT consulting on the side. It's not an official business. It's more of a, if you know me, then maybe I can help you out with it kind of thing. So there's a car detail shop around me, and I know the owner, and I know most of the people there to some extent, and they're expanding, which is good, but their IT infrastructure is non-existent. They don't need a whole lot. They don't need a whole lot of complex stuff either, but they need more than what they have. They have no file server of any kind. They have no backups of any kind. So I'm going to be helping them out a little bit. Basically, I'm telling them what they need, and he's saying, yeah, I believe you, and then he's giving me money. Which is pretty much what consulting is. But, yeah, it's a nice little side gig for me. So what I'm setting up for them right now, they need more workstations to put around the shop. It's a massive building, like 3 times the size of my house. They need more PCs, because right now they're using basically just employees' own PCs that they bring in from home. So I'm hooking them up with a couple of Optiplexes. I say a couple, 4 of them. Some Optiplex 7010s. They've all got a good CPU in them, 8 gigs of RAM. I'm throwing an SSD in. They don't need to do much. Basically, it's internet browsing and connecting to the server, which I'm setting up right now, to get quotes and information about customers. They don't need to do any kind of processing of information. It's just a terminal in some sense. That's all it really is. It's just connecting to other things. So I got them some Optiplexes for that. They're the small form factor ones. I've had the Seagate NAS, which is actually just sitting right here. Shouldn't hold my coffee and do this at the same time. I've had this Seagate. It's a NAS Pro 8 terabyte 2-bay, and I got a stupid good deal on this thing. I guess I'll tell you the story about how I came to acquire it. So, when I was working at the computer store, there was a shop nearby that deals with refurbished equipment, and they just buy pallets of stuff, refurbish it, sell it. And they had a bunch of Seagate NAS devices there, but none of them worked. But they were all still under warranty. So I tried to do my best to see if I could make him come alive, and I couldn't, so I contacted Seagate, and I was like, hey, these are dead. Can you send me a new one? And they sent me, I had 3 of them, they sent me 3 brand new ones. No hours on them, no hours on the drives, which was important. Yeah, so I got 3 of them, normally $800 a piece, for $200 a piece. So I got a really good deal on it, but the issue I have with this device here is that, well, it's a little bit, it's designed, what do I want to say? There's not enough customization for me. Now, for somebody like the shop, they will eventually need to go in and, maybe, whoa, set this back down before I drop it. They might need to go in and set up a new share or do something in it. And this device makes it really easy to do that. But if you want to, I can't even think of an example. I guess I just like having a Windows-based file server more. It works for me. It's what I like. This just doesn't cut it. And I've been trying to offload this thing for about 3.5 years. Nobody wants it. For $200, nobody wants 8 terabytes of storage. Probably because it's in the NAS enclosure. So I was like, hey, I can actually hook you up on 8 terabytes of storage for pretty cheap. And I told him what it was, and he said, yeah, that is perfect. That is exactly what I want. I'm not a computer guy. I need to be able to customize some of it, but it needs to be easy to do. And so now I've finally gotten rid of this stupid NAS Pro. Ugh. And I made my money back, which was most important to me. Sorry guys, I got a little piece of skin there. That was kind of gross. Ugh, I'm so glad to see that thing gone. So I'm charging him $200 for that, just because that's what I paid for it, and even on the used market, that is a pretty good deal for 8 terabytes of storage in a NAS. So we got the desktops, we've got the NAS Pro, which will be their main file server. It has really low hours on it, so I'm not concerned about it being refurbished. And the drives are going to be set up in RAID 1. So if one fails, you'll probably be okay for a while. And that was because they don't yet want to spend money on another backup device, even though I've tried to preach the importance of having backups of your main files, especially. They don't want to do it, so I'm not going to push them. So that, the desktops, the server that I'm working on, it's kind of a makeshift server, if I'm honest, but the server doesn't need to do very much. It's an Optiplex 7010 desktop, so it's a slim tower. The towers are the wider ones. This one is the skinnier one that's about the same height. And I actually purchased this one and a CPU for it for use as one of my ESXi hosts. But I don't need 2 of them. I thought I did, but I really don't. So I'm going to recoup my costs on this one, basically charge them the cost of what I've put into it, and I'll throw an SSD in there, a different one. I've got one in there right now that's just acting as something so that I can get it all going, then I'll clone the disk to the larger drive. Oh boy. Wow, okay, Windows. Calm down there. Yeah, there's nothing really special about it. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, an i7-3770, which is the, I think it's the best CPU these things can handle, officially. It's going to have a 240 gig SSD, which is enough. All the files will be stored on the file server, so that's just for OS, and a couple of the programs that they're actually requiring the server for, all that associated data. It'll be fine, and Yeah, it's a really solid machine. Optiplexes in general, I think I've talked about this before, but I'm really a fan of Optiplexes. They are just great. They are great machines. They're reliable. They're cheap for what they are, and they're just the build quality is second to none. Somebody in one of my other streams had asked me about what are they called? The HP Elite desks, which are HP's answer to the Optiplex. I just don't care for them. I can't really explain why I don't. There's something about the way that, especially the BIOS feels, and I don't know. There's something about HP Elite Desk that I don't care for, especially given an Optiplex. I choose an Optiplex over the Elite Desk. So, yeah, that's why I'm sticking with Optiplexes for now. What else did I have? I had something else I was setting up for him. Oh, and a battery backup, a UPS. They haven't made the call on that one, whether or not they want one. I recommended it, but they haven't said one way or the other. But that's something they can do on their own time if they really decide that they want it, which I hope that they do. You don't want your file server just plugged into the mains. It's not good. Not a good idea. Oh boy. Alright. Still got just one person watching. I guess I kind of expected that, because it's noon on a Friday, EST. So everybody's probably still at work. Maybe I should have waited a little while. Oh well. So a couple minutes ago I said, wow, Windows, what are you doing? I'm doing updates on their server to get it patched properly. I'm not usually a fan of doing updates. I don't do it on my own stuff, but on customer stuff, I always try to update as much as possibly before it leaves me. But before I did the updates, it's on a 120 gig drive. I had, I think, 98 gigs free, and I just did a bunch of updates, and now it's got 63 gigs free. It's a lot of stuff that it's left behind. Now, I know I can clean that up, and I'm going to, but I was just surprised, like, half my drive's gone now. Oops. Wonder if I can check for some more updates without the internet completely blowing up here. You know what? No, I don't want that to happen. When I was pulling down updates earlier, it was completely maxing out my connection for download speed. It was going at over what we're rated for, actually. I pay for 100 megabit down and 10 up. And usually we get around 111 down, 11 up. That's what it works out to be. But I was pulling 150 down earlier, which is good. I just wasn't expecting that. And that was all from Windows Update. That was all Windows Update. Yeah. What else am I doing here? It's been a pretty quiet morning so far. I took the dog to the dog park, had him run around, but then it started raining, so we left. Went to Home Depot, picked some stuff up. That's about it. Yeah, that's all there is to it. I actually think the Optiplexes I ordered for the person I'm doing the IT for, I think they're on their way, like, now. I should be here around 1 o'clock, so got about 45 minutes before those arrive. Hopefully they don't need to be signed for, because I won't be able to hear them upstairs if they knock on the door or ring the doorbell. And I'd really like to have them today so that I can work on them over the weekend. But we will see where that goes. What else do I have going on around here? I still got a bunch of stuff to sell. Not a lot. I mean, compared to what I used to have. My God, I had so much shit back then. Back then, as in like 6 months ago. I've got just some stuff on this shelf. So hard to do backwards. This shelf right here. Got my 23-inch Cinema HD display. I think that's what it is. Something that will go with the G5, G4. I've got my old MacBook Pro, which is unfortunately dead, and I couldn't revive it this time. That's the MacBook Pro that I baked in the oven. It's a 2007 or 8, and it had the NVIDIA GPU issue where basically you just need to reflow the CPU, hopefully in the proper way, to make it work again. And I've just been throwing it in the oven. So I've done that 3 times now, 4 actually, and this most recent time it didn't come back. So, you know, since the first time I baked it, it's been about 3 years. So I've been able to keep it up and running, but I think it's just had it at this point, and it's not worth repairing. So I'm just gonna pretty much just post it for sale on a Facebook group and see if somebody wants it. It's got a 500 gig drive in it, 6 gigs of RAM. Overall, cosmetically, it's in great shape. It has an almost brand new battery. It's got 3 cycles on it. So, hoping I can get at least my battery money back for it. That would be nice. Still got some G5 CPUs. At this point, I'm probably going to toss those, recycle them, because nobody seems to want them even for free. They're 2.0 gigahertz CPUs. Got some PC cards to get rid of. Got a bunch of Mac power adapters to get rid of. A lot of MacBook Pro ones, the MagSafe 1 style. I think I've got maybe a power or an iBook power adapter in there somewhere. Oh, speaking of iBooks, I really hope I didn't screw it up too bad. I took apart my iBook G4, the one that I bought many years ago and used back when PowerPC was still somewhat relevant. I took it all the way apart, cleaned it up, put new thermal paste on it, because I've been meaning to do that. And the thermal paste, there actually was none. I don't know if that's how these things usually, if they were like that from the factory. I kind of doubt it. And I've never taken the heatsink off one before, but there was almost no thermal paste. There was just a little bit of residue on there. So I think it's good that I put some on there. So I did that. I threw the whole thing back together, got it all buttoned up nicely, and it doesn't quite work. The screen powers up, and it looks like it's starting. When you boot OS X, it starts out at a white screen. And then it flashes a little bit and shows the Apple logo. It boots up to that white screen, flashes, and then continues to be a white screen. And it's booting. I can hear it going in the background. If I press on the keyboard, it will, get angry at me, make sounds. But there's no video. So I'm really hoping that I didn't damage the video cable in some way. I don't think I did. I didn't do anything particularly harsh to it. And I've taken apart probably 80 of these in the past. So I'm hoping it'll live. That's something that's on my agenda for this weekend. I'm trying to watch my dog in the camera that I've got up here. Looks like he's looking out the window at some squirrels or something. Something I did the other day that I'm pissed about, that I could have probably remedied right after it happened, but for some reason I didn't. I was down here the other night, just working on some computer stuff. I had a glass of wine. It was a stemless glass. I went to reach for my mouse and I spilled the wine. So You know, it went all over the desk, got on the floor, whatever. But it also spilled in my keyboard. So the keyboard that I was using, which sounds a little bit different now, it's a Razer Black Widow Ultimate, I think. It's a mechanical keyboard for gaming. I got it out of the recycling bin. Nothing was wrong with it, so I have no idea why it was in there. But I've been using that down here. It's got Cherry MX Blues in it. It's a really nice keyboard. But after I spilled wine in it, it doesn't really work. Sometimes I cleaned it up to the best of my ability. I didn't take it apart though yet. But if I press like spacebar, it'll put in 35 spaces all at once. Like, what the hell? So, I guess if I cleaned it up at the time, I probably could have had a better chance of saving it, but now I'm not so sure. So that's also on the agenda. Hopefully the sugar in the wine, or just the alcohol in the wine, didn't eat away at the traces of the keyboard or anything. That would really suck. So that's the thing. That's the thing that happened. Now the dog's laying down. He's got his head propped up. Got like his nose propped up against the window. I don't know how that's comfortable. What a weirdo. Let's tilt this camera down a little bit. There we go. I'm trying to slouch and be comfortable, but I also want to be somewhat in frame. We had 2 people, now we got 1. Yeah, apparently noon on a Friday isn't really an ideal time to do a live stream if you want views. Hopefully this time YouTube will actually post the live stream after it's finished instead of just marking it as private and then nobody sees it for a couple days. That would be nice. That would be very nice. In my last live stream, I talked a little bit about some things I wanted to do with the $10 PC sitting down here on the floor. I'd really like to try and install the Apple's Rhapsody operating system, which was, I think, a precursor to OS X server, or maybe OS X in general? OS X server. I'd like to try to install that because there is an x86 version, and I have actually got partway through the installation on a virtual machine. So I know it'll run on x86 on just standard PC hardware, but I had some trouble because the ISO for installation is not bootable. So it comes with 4 different floppy disks. One of them's a boot, one of them is for install, one of them's drivers, one's something else. So I've been trying to write those floppies to a physical disk so I can put it in the machine, but no matter how many times I download it, no matter what machine, if I do it on Mac, if I do it on PC, I just can't seem to get the images to, I guess, be openable at all. So I've used a bunch of different things. I've tried a bunch of different things, but I've tried, I think it's WinImage. That's the one that I usually use. I've tried to open the image file so that I could write it to a physical disk, and it just says it can't open the file. Or it says it does open the file, but then there's nothing in the window. So it didn't open the file. Or at least it didn't extract the contents. And I tried a couple things, again, on Mac and PC, and I couldn't get those disks to write. So I got some more work to do on that one, but that would be kind of cool to have a PC running a Mac operating system natively. That would be kind of nice. Oh, that reminds me. That was a totally unintentional segue, but it is something I actually wanted to talk about. So in this order of computers that I did for the shop I'm doing consulting for, what was I what was I literally saying? I was looking for computers for the shop, okay? So I went on eBay, I found, it was a lot of 5 Optiplex 7010s. It worked out to about $100 a piece. Pretty good deal. They've got 3rd gen i7s, 8 gigs of RAM, 500 gig hard drive, and they're in good shape. So I went ahead and I ordered those. I did this with the intention of keeping one of them. And it's not like I'm going to charge the place for 5. They know they're only getting 4. But I used the fact that they needed 4 to my benefit so I can get a cheaper price on 5 of them. So I'm going to use one of those Optiplex 7010s. Again, they're small form factor, as a Hackintosh. I don't need this thing, or I don't need the Mac, the Hackintosh. It's weird to call it that. I don't need it to do anything particularly demanding, and I don't need to put in a GPU, although I probably will, but I don't need to do it. Actually, yeah, I probably do. I don't know. We'll see about that. But it's just gonna basically sit in my server rack, and it's gonna be a Mac server. So at work, I've been, I guess you could say, experimenting with. I've been trying to get I've been trying to find a good way to manage all of our Mac endpoints. So we've got about 150 Macs in the department, and we've got kind of a roundabout way of getting them imaged, but it really sucks, and it doesn't always work, and putting out software to them is almost impossible. We just need a better way of managing them, because while it worked for us in the past, newer versions of macOS are starting to deprecate some of the things that we used to use. For no reason. No reason at all, I'm sure. So yeah, I've got to find a good way to manage our Mac clients, and I'd like to do some of that here at home, so that I can manage some of my own stuff, but, you know, just so I can experiment here without having to provision something at work. It's kind of hard to explain. I just want to be able to do it here at home, have a Mac server. If I need to do anything Mac server related for my own stuff, then I'll have it. If I want to test something for work, then I can do that here. And the main reason why I'm doing that on something like an Optiplex instead of a Mac Mini, for example, is simply because if I want to never touch a Mac again, I can install Windows very easily on that Optiplex, and it's all standard hardware. I can just go with that. Whereas if I bought a Mac Mini, yes, you can swap the hardware out, but not as easily. You have less options, and it is running Mac firmware. So basically, I've got more options if I get an Optiplex and install Mac OS on it than if I get a Mini and install Windows on it. I've had a long morning, if you can't tell. My brain's already frazzled, and I haven't even got halfway through the day yet. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway. Still got one person watching, so thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. I don't really know if I have anything else to talk about. I'm really just waiting right now for my for those 5 Optiplexes to come in the mail so I can get started on those. I've got the SSDs. I think basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one ready and then just copy that image over to the other SSDs, and then it'll be done. One other thing I want to set up on my ESXi server is a WSUS server, because even though I don't personally run updates on anything that I have really, I'd like to be able to have that WSUS server so that I don't have to hammer the internet every time I want to download updates for PCs that I'm building for other people. Because I essentially have to wait till everybody's gone during the day, or I have to run them at night, so that I don't completely wreck the internet connection. Yeah, it's a pain. I just fired up their server. An Optiplex 7010 with an SSD in it will go from pressing the power button to being at the desktop in 12 seconds. That's awesome. That is so cool. You know, my gaming PC, it's a little bit older, but I got a 1070 in it, 64 gigs of RAM, i7-4960EX overclocked, an Asus X79 Deluxe motherboard. The hardware is a little bit older, but it's super powerful. But even despite being powerful hardware, it still doesn't boot up fast because there's so much to it. But these Optiplexes, man, they are really screaming machines. It gives you the impression that it could potentially be more powerful than my gaming PC. But it's not. It's not even close. Ooh. My armrest went down. Alright, well, I've been going for about half an hour. I got one person here, so I was kind of hoping there would be more so I could chat with people. But I think I'll end it here. I don't have anything else I want to talk about. So, yeah. If you think of anything, or if you want any clarification on stuff, put it in the comments of this video. The recording should be up in just a couple minutes. So, alright guys, I guess that's all for now. We'll see you whenever the next video happens to be. Take care. See ya.